Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Danil Abedin and we are presenting on distributed resource allocation for device-to-device 5G cellular networks. D2D communication. D2D was introduced in the fourth generation after LTE release in 2012. Device-to-device communication in cellular network is defined as direct communicating between two mobile users without traversing the base station or core network. In a traditional cellular networks, all communication must go through the base station if communicating parties are in range for proximity-based D2D communication. Communication through base station provide low data rate mobile service such as voice calls and messages in which users are close enough for direct communication. However, mobile users in today's cellular networks use high data rate service and video sharing in which they can potentially be in range for direct communication. Researchers have classified two types of D2D on the basis of usage and network resistance, in-band and out-band. Motivation for choosing in-band communication is that high control over cellular license spectrum. In-band is further divided into underlay and overlay. In underlay, cellular and D2D devices can share the same radio resources and enhance the performance of cellular network by providing high spectral efficiency. In overlay, D2D links are given dedicated resources. Now comes to outband. In outband, unlicensed spectrum is exploited by the user. Therefore, outband communication is used to mitigate the interference between D2D and cellular links. Outband also further divided into control and autonomous. In a control, base station is responsible for all computer and management tasks, but in autonomous, individual user equipment are responsible for allocating the spectrum for D2D communication. Network assisted but not visible as spectrum is unlicensed. No control of base station thus become challenging task. Why do we want to do this project? In dense environment, base station is involved. That is controlling control traffic. We believe that D2D will enable to provide assistance to these nodes that would like to communicate with each other. Since base station is bombarded with control related information, so it cannot assist. In particular use cases, we can want to ensure that mobile devices communicate with each other. What happens when base station in disaster condition is down? Mobile devices are not dead. We have transmitter and receiver, but cannot communicate because base station is down. But we want that mobile devices communicate. So for this, we have to assign them time, frequency, resources, and resource allocation is our main problem. There are two methods for resource allocation. If base station is alive, then base station will do resource allocation. What if base station is dead or busy because of congested traffic? Then nodes will allocate resources by themselves in optical manner, and this is the area in which we are working on. As far as engineering element, yes, in network design and modeling is included in our project that addresses engineering aspect design. We are not building up some prototype that is implemented, but all engineering aspect designs are covered. Critical thinking analysis at this research-based project. Now the question is what exactly our project will produce. Through simulation results, we will show our algorithm performance. Now what are the performance matrices? Interference management, outage probability. And in the end, we will showcase that in our resource allocation scheme, these performance matrices will tell us how this is better than centralized one. We will try to write heuristic algorithm that has no mathematical proof, which has better performance matrices. And then we will compare our simulation results that how our algorithm is better. One of the biggest milestone is to write a conference paper. In the end, we will try to show our research on network simulator. We can demonstrate 2 to 3 nodes that will assign resource by themselves in network simulator. Now over to Isma.
My name is Isma Ayub and I'm going to explain distance-based algorithm. And before going into that, let us see the basic theme behind this flow chart. That is, we are providing distance-based protection to receivers, and we ensure that if another transmitter enters into the existing transmission radius, then we cannot assign it frequency that is being used in this transmission radius by other transmitters. This is our first algorithm of distributed resource allocation, and the biggest assumption in this algorithm is that every receiver node knows location of all the nodes that are in the receiver transmission range. Now the question arises, through which method node locations are known to receiver node? So the answer is through GPS. The location of all the nodes can be known within the transmission radius, or every node has sensing range, and we assume sensing range is equivalent to transmission range, and in that sensing range, any node that is transmitting on any particular frequency, that information is received by a receiver node. Given this assumption, we are able to distribute resources like this. Now sharing the detailed flow chart here. Let us get familiar with all notations that are used in this algorithm. A subscript T k power j be the 2D circular region corresponding to the transmission range of kth transmitter using jth frequency. R subscript k power j be the kth receiver using jth frequency resources. T subscript k power j be the kth transmitter using jth frequency resources. And the frequency frequency pool, that is F1, F2 up to so on. Total node pair be n D2D pairs. A subscript R k power j be the 2D circular region corresponding to the transmission range of kth receiver using jth frequency. RU be the set of the frequency that can be reused. Now the basic idea is when D2D pair enters into the system, then it passes through the decision block that checks if the contending transmitter is outside the transmission range of all the existing receiver nodes, or if contending receiver is outside the transmission range of all the existing transmitter nodes. Now here the checked for all J will check each pair with all the frequencies present in the frequency pool. Let us begin with the first iteration. According to the first decision block, check D2D pair with all frequencies. As we know, it is the first pair and there are no existing pairs yet. So it will be moved to the second decision block where it will ensure that all frequencies are checked for iteration I, and we will assign any random frequency from pool, as we know that it is our first iteration and we have not utilized any frequency from pool. So it cannot be empty pool. Likewise, after assigning frequency, it will move towards the next iteration. Now another pair enters into the system, and this time again the loop will check this pair with all frequencies, and if any frequency lies in the range of existing nodes, thus creating interference between the nodes, will be removed from the pool. Then ensure that all the frequencies are checked for this iteration. After that, it will check availability of frequencies in the pool if available. Then it will assign any frequency. If not, then this node cannot transmit. Basically, we are ensuring protection on receiver from contending nodes and providing existing receivers protection from incoming transmitter. And this is done through first decision block. Now, next slide.
Shuru.
Now let us move towards the simulation and results. System parameters of our proposed distance-based algorithm are transmitter and receiver separation 10 to 50 meter, radius 500 meter, iterations 1000. Path loss exponent is 4, maximum transmission power is 0.2 watts, SINR threshold beta is 9 dB, D2D node pairs are 150. Orthogonal ranges depends upon transmitter receiver separation distance 10 to 50 meter and bandwidth is 20 megahertz. Next slide, please. Let us move towards our results now. This is the average frequency reuse count plot. Frequencies assigned on the first come first basis. So traffic of nodes on first frequency is high as compared to the other frequency. We can say that the first frequency is used 80 times and the last frequency is used only 5 times. As maximum frequency reuse on first frequency increases, then the interference flow also increases. And the next plot is the CDF of the frequency assignment. Next slide, please. SINR is calculated by using this formula where gain is equals to 1 over R subscript ij. R subscript ij is equals to distance between contending receiver and the interfering transmitter. This is the CDF plot of the SINR in dBs. Next slide, please. So the next plot is frequency versus outage. By looking at the graph trend, we can say as the frequency block increases, outage reduces. After a certain stage, outage will not further reduce, and that frequency number is the critical point. After that, no reduction in outage, and thus no benefit of adding more frequency resources in the system. We can say at frequency 2, outage is 16%, and at frequency 3, outage is 7.5%. Next slide. Transmission capacity of the network. So total number of admittable users is equals to 1 minus outage into total number of users. Then we multiply it with B log of 1 plus average SNR. Then it is average transmission capacity in bits per second. My throughput is the average maximum throughput in the network that I can achieve without any outage, that is at the y-axis. What kind of results do we have with an increase in the frequency resource blocks? So we can see that after a certain time, outage increases and capacity reduces. If I increase the outage, number of successful nodes reduces in the network. After a certain stage, frequency is not utilized anymore unless the intensity of nodes increases within 50-meter radius. If I fix the intensity of nodes, then after a certain stage, there is no improvement in transmission capacity. If we continuously increase resource blocks but no reduction in outage, it means transmission capacity curve becomes flat. Next slide, please. Next plot is varying D2D pairs distance. Only x-axis we have D2D pairs from D20 to 150, and on y-axis we have average frequency. As the distance between D2D pair increases, average frequency increases. Blue, gray, and yellow represents 50, 100, and 150 meter distance respectively. For 20 nodes, when nodes are 50 meter apart, then we need approximately 2 frequencies, and when nodes are 100 meter apart, then we need 3 frequencies, and when nodes are 150 meter apart, then we need approximately 4 frequencies. Next plot, please. Now varying path loss exponent with constant d2d pair distance 50 meter. Blue, gray, and yellow represents path loss exponent as 4, 5, 6 respectively. As the path loss exponent increases, average frequency used in the network also increases. Thank you.
As much as our project's proposed timeline is self-explanatory through this Gantt chart, I would still like to explicate the central fundamentals of our project's timeline. Now, as this project is quite evidently a research-based project, consequently it demands literature work and its algorithm composition to progress in parallel. Based on this intent, we have collectively been reading and analyzing published and technologically sound research papers in parallel with devising our own algorithms. Now, after numerous trials of simulations for our project, which will include benchmarking our statistical results with published statistics of similar projects of the same domain, we will be constituting a well-found research paper by the end of this project's timeline. Conclusively, our research paper has concluded to almost 70% towards its completion, along with its suitable and conference-worthy formatting. Moreover, our collective effort in preparing a concise report for the worthy panel had started in parallel with the composition of the research paper. Up till now, we have drafted multiple reports of our project with mutual efforts and also its progress, and have been getting them assessed by our respectable supervisor. Till this point, next slide please. Till this point, all three of us have been putting in teamwork to advance towards our common goal. Reasoning this as our best plan of action, we have accomplished all of our goals up till now collectively instead of allotting different tasks among us individually. It would be befitting to endorse the said plan of action by stating some of our strategies in this regard. Number one, we had shortlisted about 7 research papers of the same or similar domain and read them collectively as a group multiple times in the same manner. Moreover, we collectively reviewed literature reviews or summaries as per our understanding. Number two, in contrast of algorithm writing and its coding, we had proposed and devised an innovative code on MATLAB using Poisson point distribution for placing nodes in a scaled or space region. This too we had done collectively. One of our many tasks was to calculate the SINR of the receiver nodes. In terms of time allocation for the project per week, all three of us have been investing at least 20 hours a week, both collectively and individually combined. Most imperiously, we have been holding meetings regarding the project twice every week. That is it. Thank you.